Unveiling the dark truths of medieval childbirth, terrifying tales you never knew. In the shadowy corners of history, where whispers of horror dance with the flickering flame of truth, lies a tale so dark and gripping, it will send chills down your spine. Imagine a time when childbirth was not a joyous occasion, but a terrifying ordeal steeped in superstition and dread. Women, heavily pregnant and clutching their bellies, faced the very real possibility of death. It was like walking a tightrope over an abyss. The midwives, shrouded in mystery, were rumored to possess not just knowledge, but dark magic that summoned curses and fates far grimmer than any mother could bear. The cries of childbirth echoed through the damp, straw-filled huts, mingling with the ominous sounds of the unknown. When the midwife arrived, armed with wooden tools and herbal concoctions, you could feel the room tense as she lit a candle, its flame dancing like a restless spirit. Women believed the candles could chase away evil spirits, or attract the souls of those long gone. The weight of the moment felt like a heavy fog, thick and suffocating. Children, still as statues in the corner, watched their mothers with wide eyes, each gasp and scream layering the atmosphere with unspoken dread. But there was more. Some midwives were accused of using the very pain of childbirth to harness a woman's life force. Infants were said to be born carrying the shadows of their mothers, as if their souls were forever intertwined with the otherworldly struggles of life and death. Imagine the horror, a new life emerging, not merely into the world, but from a battlefield, littered with the remnants of pain and struggle. Just when you think the dread couldn't deepen, it does. You hear that a woman who died in childbirth would roam the fields at night, seeking vengeance on those who failed her. Midwives who strayed too far from their sacred duty could find themselves haunted by these souls trapped in a cloak of suffering that was painfully real. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect, and just as the candle flickers its last light, you can almost hear the echoes of the past calling, begging for a reckoning. What dark secrets will emerge from the depths of history? What other horrifying truths lie buried, waiting to be uncovered? A chill swept through the small village, settling deep in the bones of the townsfolk like an unshakable spell. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Have you heard?" they muttered, fingers pointing toward the old stone well where the midwives gathered, plotting something sinister. It wasn't just the fear of childbirth that haunted the air. It was the heavy weight of something unspoken, lurking just beneath the surface. In the dim light of the tavern, fears mingled with ale, fueling the talk of specters and curses. "The last child born at the hands of Agatha," an anxious farmer stammered, "was said to carry the spirit of its mother. That baby. It screams at night, a sound that chills the blood." Nods of agreement followed, eyes wide with dread as the thoughts sank in. What if the spirits were restless because they were denied peace? Meanwhile, beyond the tavern walls, a lone figure crept through the misty night. Elle, a newly appointed midwife just stepping into the shadows of her own fate, had seen too much. The tales of children born with never-ending cries weighed heavily on her heart, twisting her stomach in knots. In her dreams, she could hear them calling, beckoning her into the darkness. She brushed her hair back, trying to dismiss the icy fingers of fear that clutched her throat. Tonight, however, her path led her to the forest, a tangled maze where secrets held tight to the twisted branches of time. Guided by the flickering lantern she clutched close, she felt compelled to uncover the truth about the midwives of old. They had powers, that much was undeniable. Could she then harness that power for good? Or would she be consumed by it, swallowed whole by the darkness? As she stepped deeper into the wooden expanse, the air thickened around her, pressing in, suffocating. Shadowy figures danced at the edge of the lantern-esque glow, whispering sweet nothings that turned sinister. Silently, each step drew her closer to the heart of the mystery. Was that a flicker of movement? The swing of a figure, just out of sight? Elle steadied her breath, recalling old wives' tales passed down through hushed whispers. A shiver raced down her spine. Legends of the Maiden of Sorrow haunted many, a ghost said to roam the woods, lost in her eternal search for her own child. What if she is still out there, looking for someone to carry her grief? Elle wondered, heart pounding. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed through the darkness, chilling her to her core. Why have you come, child? It wasn't the wild winds that spoke, it was a voice steeped in sorrow, resonating from the depths of the woods. Elle froze, the lantern's light sputtering as if dimming in fear. I seek the truth about childbirth. I want to learn. She managed to whisper, hope and dread curling tightly in her throat. Would the ancient powers help her? Or would they compel her to join the anguished souls forever wandering the night? The woods simply waited for her answer as shadows darkened and the voice beckoned her deeper into the unknown. What awaited Elle at the heart of the forest? Was it a path to knowledge, or a descent into madness? Every breath she took felt like it could be her last. The silence stretched, taut as a violin string, and then the woods erupted around her. You seek the truth? The voice was a whisper of wind, swirling among the branches. But truth is often heavier than you'd expect. Are you prepared to bear it? Elle's heart thundered in her chest. It felt like a drum demanding to be heard, yet she could barely force the words out. I am ready, I have to know. The weight of her own words seemed to linger like a fog, each syllable growing thicker in the suffocating air. The brook nearby gurgled, as if mocking her bravado. A rustle in the underbrush sent her heart racing anew. Then come, the voice beckoned, softer now, almost kind. The shadows shifted, and Elle felt an unseen hand guiding her deeper. As she walked, the trees grew taller and closer, their twisted limbs reaching out like skeletal fingers. Moonlight flickered, illuminating patches of fog that danced at her feet. Memories surged from her subconscious, stories her mother had told her when she was a child. The whispers of midwives long gone haunting indeed, but was it truth or mere legend? Suddenly, the ground beneath her shifted. Elle stumbled, gasping as she caught herself. In the darkness to her left, something glinted, a fragment of stone half buried under moss. She knelt down, brushing aside the leaves. It was a small idol, a figure of a woman, her expression frozen in sorrow. The Maiden of Sorrow, Elle breathed, recognizing the figure from her mother's tales. An offering she never received, came the voice, now closer. The air hummed with energy. And you, child? What do you offer? Elle's stomach twisted painfully. I don't have anything, panic swelled. The shadows deepened, and the once soothing whispers grew throaty and urgent. What do you want? Life and death must intertwine, as the cycle commands, the voice responded, an everlasting echo dancing among the trees. To hoard knowledge without understanding its cost leads only to ruin. Uneasiness clawed at her insides. Elle's thoughts raced. Did this spectre seek a sacrifice? Did it demand a child as payment? Her chest constricted. She could hardly breathe, fear threatening to drown her. Your spirit flickers like that lantern, the voice warned, making you vulnerable. There is much to gain, but much you must lose. The darkness swirled, and she felt the weight of all the spirits contained within the earth, their sorrow bleeding through the soil. What must I do? She barely recognized her own voice, shaky and small amidst the chaos surrounding her. I will learn. I'll learn. The woods erupted into a cacophony of whispers, secrets tangled among the trees. You will learn indeed, but knowledge brings a heavy burden. Suddenly, the forest shook. Roots writhed and curled at her feet, ascended to the surface, blocking her path. A low growl reverberated through the ground, almost primal. Elle's heart raced as the shadows twisted and churned, revealing glimpses of ancient faces, ghostly visages etched with regret, each a forgotten midwife. What do you want? She shouted now, desperation rising. I seek to heal, to help. In the depths of the chaos, the voice returned. Then heed the darkness that follows. Every birth carries the weight of the ancients. Will you bear it? Can you? The ground beneath her shifted again as she felt herself being pulled, the spirits on all sides demanding her attention. In that moment of uncertain terror, she braced herself for what came next. Would she emerge with new strength, or would the shadows claim her as they had claimed so many others? The answer hid just beyond the reach of the flickering light, waiting to be unveiled. What lesson did the darkness hold, and at what cost? As Elle stared into the swirling night, she knew one thing: the truth of childbirth would reshape her forever, but she couldn't shake the feeling of a trap closing in around her. The forest heaved with a strange energy, twisting around her like a living entity. Elle felt the grasping roots tighten about her ankles, ice-cold tendrils dragging her into the depths. The growls morphed into a choir of anguished cries, every one distinct yet harmonizing with her own building dread. "Please!" she choked out, each word a struggle against the mounting fear. The shadows seemed to pulse, alive with lingering grief. Was she truly ready to confront the ancients? Did she know the cost? "Your heart is pure, child, but purity alone will not shield you," the voice reverberated ominously, cutting through the darkness. It dripped with a sadness that made Elle tremble. "What makes you think the truth will not shred that heart as it does the veil between life and death?" The ground quaked violently, and as shadows writhed before her, the idol of the Maiden of Sorrow seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. "You need her strength." Elle's breath hitched. Could she trust it? An offering, the essence of the idol seeped into her consciousness, invoking memories of her mother's warm embrace, her steady hands guiding Elle as a child. But this was far worse than any ghost tale her mother had spun. The weightiness of lives lost pressed down on her chest, as if the entire world had gathered to witness her trial. "Offer your fears, abandon weightless desires," the voice continued, echoing through branches like an ancient lullaby gone foul. "To know the truth, you must lose a part of yourself." Elle's heart raced faster than she thought possible. "What does that even mean?" The shadows whispered hasty secrets she couldn't salvage from the noise. She yearned to scream, to escape, but she understood she was ensnared by her own quest for knowledge. Perhaps she had underestimated the shadows, those apparitions of sorrow and wisdom. The voice no longer spoke, it hung in the air, woven with the shadows that narrowed around her. Suddenly, she felt them brush against her skin, chilling her soul. That was when Elle understood. She needed to give them a part of herself. A piece to confront the past, to claim the future. "Take my fear, my doubt," she finally whispered, the words tumbling out as raw as her frayed nerves. "I'll sacrifice that to learn." With that declaration, she felt a rending deep within her chest. The darkness surged, swallowing her words, pulling her breath out like smoke from a fire. And in that moment of release, the shadows swooped, filling the space with ethereal whispers of forgotten midwives, their voices embedding themselves within her consciousness. "What comes next isn't just knowledge," they warned in unison, their collective heaviness curdling the air around her. "You'll learn the truth behind life and death." Elle gasped, burdened with the weight of a history she had yearned to unearth. Faces materialized around her, their sad stares piercing through her like arrows, each one longing for acknowledgement, for their stories to finally be heard. An ancient figure stepped forward, the roots parting as if granting passage. She wore a crown of twigs and flowers, her presence radiating gentleness despite the shadows swirling at her heels. "Embrace your calling, Elle. But remember, some truths are chains, and the weight you lift may also weigh down another." Absorbing this wisdom, Elle's resolve blazed at the thought of future generations weighed down by ignorance. But was she truly ready to be a torchbearer, even if that meant forever changing who she was? As the darkness thickened around her, a strange sense of clarity broke through as the shadows began to whisper secrets. The truth was coming. But with it loomed an even greater question: what choices would she have to make once the truth was unveiled? With each heartbeat echoing like a drum, Elle steeled herself. She knew she was standing at the precipice of something monumental. The darkness was no longer just a threat, it offered the keys to understanding birth and death, entangled in ways she could not yet comprehend. Would the truths she uncovered empower her or bind her? Inextricably to the spirits she sought to learn from, The forest shimmered with anticipation as Elle prepared for what lay ahead. Yet, even as those shadows beckoned her closer, a nagging thrill surged within her. Was she ready to bear the burdens of the lost? Elle's heart thrummed in time with the pulse of the woods. Shadows melted away to reveal twisted faces, their expressions a mosaic of yearning and despair. Each form whispered secrets, the ancients' echoes intertwined with her own breath. The air crackled thick as smoke, making her gasp as panic feasted on the edges of her sanity. "Please!" she cried again, desperation clawing her throat. With a soft sigh, the ancient figure stepped closer, her eyes like storm clouds. "Do not fear what you must hear, child. There lies wisdom in the darkness, but knowledge comes at a price." "Price?" Elle managed, though her voice was barely a whisper. "What kind of price?" The figure's gaze seemed to unfurl the tendrils of the past, pulling Elle closer into an unseen current. "You will hear their cries, each one a thread woven into the fabric of your lineage. You wish for knowledge? You will experience each sorrow, each wound, and each sacrifice that has birthed your very existence." Suddenly, the whispers grew louder in her ears, like a storm waiting to break. She squeezed her eyes shut, trembling as she braced for the weight of the revelations. She had opened herself willingly, but uncertainty gnawed at her. "What do you mean? How can I carry these burdens?" "Embrace this gift as a conduit, not a burden," came the reply, serene yet steeped in sadness. "The ancients will reveal their anguish, but your role is not to bear their sadness alone. Rather, learn from it, and pass it on." Elle's vision shifted. Images erupted in her mind, a scene where a young woman bled against the dirt, the taste of ash upon her lips. She was screaming, a raw sound of agony and hope echoing through time. Pain sliced through Elle's heart like a knife, and she gasped. "No! Stop! You are stronger than you know," the gentle voice assured her. "These stories are fragments, just as your fears were. With every story, a bit of light breaks through. With every burden lifted, another takes its place, but you possess the power to ensure their tales do not wither into silence." The ground surged beneath her, twisting and writhing as the spectral forms of women from centuries ago flickered into view. Their faces twisted in pain but also strength. Each spirit stretched forth a hand, and Elle felt her heart expand, aching as if accompanying every soul's disappointment. "Where are the voices of joy?" she cried out, seeking a glimmer amid the horror. "Where is the strength in the birth?" The shadows fell silent, a brief stillness mixing with the air's clammy grip. Slowly, an answer emerged, a chorus of laughter and hope, a child's first cry breaking through the darkness. This sound cut through her like sunlight piercing the clouds. "That birth is sacred," the figure began, "and joy must coexist with pain. When you discover the stories behind those cries, the true legacy of your ancestors, you will understand it is not only about suffering." A vivid image burst forth, an infant nestled against a smiling mother, the world around them alive, bursting with light and promise. Elle's heart swelled in her chest, aching with the newfound understanding of life as a tapestry woven with strands of both agony and ecstasy. But then the laughter faded, replaced by a fog that threatened to blanket the brightness. Hope dimmed, intertwining itself with the wails of the broken. Fear crept back in, clawing at her resolve. "Tell me!" she roared, pulling herself to her feet. "What else do I need to know?" An ominous silence settled over the forest, thicker than shadows, as the ancient figure's eyes glimmered with something unnameable foreboding. "Perhaps? The truths within your lineage bear seeds of power, but not all knowledge leads to liberation. Some paths are meant to remain untraveled." The weight of those words hung in the air, and Elle took a hesitant step forward, every instinct urging her to turn back. Was she truly prepared to unlock the door to a world so rich and terrifying? Then came a chilling whisper from the depths, words sailing on the night wind. "What will be the cost when you choose to learn the stories that have long been silenced?" The shadows thickened around her, a reminder that every choice would shape her path. A decision loomed in the air, and Elle felt it pressing close, the one question that could seal her fate. And as she faced the swirling darkness, that flickering ember of courage ignited within her once more. Could she stand to unearth the truths, even if they shattered her world? The howl of the wind wrapped around Elle, a raw scream etched into the night. The shadows swirled, ever lurking, as if waiting for her choice to solidify, yet every instinct screamed for her to flee. Heart racing, she inhaled deeply, the air thick with secrets waiting to ensnare her. Listen closely, the ancient figure urged, her voice carrying a grave weight. The first truth rests in the whispers of loss and the shadows of unfulfilled dreams. Elle felt a shift beneath her feet as the ground trembled, revealing a glimmering path that seemed to pulse with life and death. With a deep breath, she stepped onto the path. Instantly, a rush of emotions flooded her senses. Laughter intertwined with cries of despair swirled around her like a tempest. "Show me!" she called out, defiance bubbling up as the air crackled with anticipation. "I want to know!" Before her, the scene materialized: a dimly lit chamber, walls caked with dirt and sorrow. The air hung heavy, almost suffocating. A woman lay on the hard ground, her screams filing like arrows through the chaos. A child's wail echoed, sharp and piercing. An infant, so fragile, slick and new, was hastily welcomed into a cruel world filled with cold uncertainty. Elle gasped, the rawness of the moment slashing through her heart. "What are you showing me?" Her voice trembled, caught between horror and thought. "Is this what they endured?" "Indeed, this is but a fragment," the figure revealed, her presence steady and unyielding. "Not every birth yields strength. But knowledge of these stories can shift destinies." Another scene erupted, blinding her with its intensity. A mother cradled her baby, tears streaming down her face not from joy, but gnawing fears of survival. The ground beneath them shook, revealing craters of loss and uncertainty. The shadows emerged, spectral figures of mothers lost in their own battles, their faces contorted in anguish and resilience. "Where is the hope?" Elle cried out, frustration radiating. "How can I find strength in this misery?" The ancient one approached, her voice a soothing balm amid the turmoil. "Strength is born from understanding," she spoke softly. "Accept the fullness of your heritage, the pain and the joy. They exist in harmony." But harmony floundered as black tendrils of mist slithered through the cacophony. "Some stories are best left buried," came a husky voice, an echo of dread curling into the night. "Are you prepared to face what you may uncover?" A chill gripped Elle's heart. In that moment, the darkness flickered, a myriad of possibilities unraveling before her. She saw visions of women, their fates intertwined with hers, each thread of spirit adding weight to her shoulders. Decisions made, lives lost, it all surged forward like a relentless tide, threatening to sweep her away. "I'm ready," she declared, the words tasting of ash on her tongue. "No more silence, no more fear. Tell me what I need to understand." As she spoke, a cacophony of whispers rose like desperate prayers, clawing at her mind. Ghostly images overlapped, sisters betrayed, hopes dashed, shadows whispering curses. With each story, memories surged in clarity. The anguish had woven their lives together in a tangle of hope and despair. But the darkness, invigorated, closed in again. A looming presence seethed from the depths, voices hissing, "Will you pay the price?" Not all knowledge liberates, some truths consume. Then came the quiet, a heartbeat echoing in the suffocating silence. Elle stood at the precipice, weighed down by the burden of inherited voices. Fear struck her like a cold blade. Was she truly ready to enter this labyrinth of haunted histories? "No," she breathed, feeling a ripple of uncertainty. I don't know what to do yet." As the shadows writhed above, a flicker of warmth broke through the laughter of a child, erupting from the chaos, even in the face of despair. A reminder that joy existed amongst the sorrow. Elle clenched her fists, determination knotting within her. She had to move forward, had to uncover the truth that could not die unnoticed. But as she stepped further down the path, the darkness grew insistent, pulling at her consciousness. A chilling voice echoed through the chamber, "What if your truths shatter more than just your understanding?" The shadows joined together again, a swirling maelstrom, urging her to reconsider. Elle caught her breath, the weight of the impending revelation precipitating an unsettling realization. What if uncovering the truth meant reshaping everything she thought she knew about herself? The moment Elle stepped deeper onto the path, something shifted in the air. A vibration trembled beneath her feet, an unsettling warning that clawed at her instincts. Shadows stretched, morphed into monstrous figures, whispers turned to shrieks, echoing in an eerie symphony. She steadied herself, the flickering fear becoming a backdrop to her resolve. "Keep going!" the ancient figure's voice urged, steady with the weight of purpose. "You have begun to unravel the tapestry." The ground beneath her pulsed, revealing a series of images horrifying yet captivating, each scene more visceral than the last. She was thrust into a fiery inferno of confusion, her mind racing as a new vision sprung to life. A woman stood in a sterile room, the cold blue light illuminating her pale face. It radiated a blend of fear and resignation. Nearby, medical instruments glinted ominously, waiting like predators. "Will I survive this?" the woman whispered, the question dripping with fear. "Will my child?" Elle felt a knot twist in her gut. She wanted to reach through the chaos, to tell the woman that she would be okay, that love and strength would conquer even the darkest of doubts. But the air was suffocating. The woman's eyes, wide and trapped, seemed to see Elle yet also remain distant, lost in her panic. Then, just as quickly as it began, the scene dissolved into another, a dimly lit room where a baby wailed tirelessly, a sound laden with unspeakable loss. A mother, drained and hollow-eyed, stared blankly at the flickering shadows dancing on the walls. The sound of her own children's laughter echoed faintly in the background, a haunting reminder of the joy that had slipped through her fingers. "Is this your legacy?" The husky voice from the void crept in again, slithering through Elle's thoughts like a venomous snake. "Will you burden yourself with these histories? Or turn away, let them fade into obscurity?" Elle's heart raced, the weight of the decision pressed against her will. Each truth demanded a price, and she shivered at the thought of losing herself in the darkness. "I need to understand," she cried out, desperation lacing her words. "I can't turn back now." Yet the shadows twisted tighter, engulfing her in their depths, wrapping her in a cocoon of chilling dread. Faces appeared around her, women riddled with grief, suffering etched into their features. One figure, a spectral apparition, pointed towards Elle, her eyes aflame with anguish. "You must know the truth of your lineage," she echoed in despair. "Only then can you break the chains binding us all." With that, the chamber cracked open. Suddenly, Elle was thrust into the heart of a storm, the air crackling with energy, past and present colliding in an explosive dance. She could hear voices overlapping, pleading for release. Each face haunted her dreams, calling out in unison, "It's your turn. Shape the future from these ashes." Light flashed before her eyes, blinding in its intensity. Memories surged, each one anchored in sorrow but glittered with resilience. A child's laughter echoed through the chamber again, juxtaposed against a backdrop of anguish, and Elle felt the heat of possibility smoldering within her. "Find the truth," the Ancient One compelled her, urgency weaving through the air. "Or let the darkness win again." The walls began to pulse, alive with energy, shadows writhing as Elle steadied her breath. The laughter faded, replaced by a stark silence, leaving her reeling, on the edge of something momentous. What truth lay hidden within the chaos? What history awaited her discovery? But as she stepped forward, a new horror unfurled. A ghostly silhouette emerged from the shadows, its eyes glowing with ancient knowledge. "Will you dare to unveil the truth, knowing it could forever change your path? Or will you retreat, leaving the echoes to haunt you?" Elle stood frozen, heart thundering in her chest. Would this knowledge empower her or shatter her very being? The choice loomed before her, dark and unavoidable. With the shadows closing in, she could feel the time slipping her grasp, pressing her to decide. "What will you choose, Elle?" whispered the cold wind, a chilling reminder of what was at stake. The air crackled with suspense as she faced the unknown. Her very identity hung in the balance. In that moment, the temptation of truth was overshadowed by the fear of what it might cost her. Would she emerge whole, or lose herself to the very shadows she dared to confront? The air thickened, charged with a weight Elle could barely comprehend. Shadows swirled and twisted, creeping closer like a mass of hungry wolves, their breath hot on her neck. She could almost hear their whispers, filling her mind with dark intentions, taunting her doubts. Choose! The voice echoed, reverberating through the turmoil around her. What will it be? Elle's heart raced, a wild drumbeat in her chest. Each pulse begged her to move, yet her legs remained planted in fear. The glowing eyes of the silhouette bore into her, churning a storm of anxiety within. She felt every breath she took. Each inhale was a tightening noose, each exhale a battle cry. I can't! She finally stammered, the words slipping from her lips like spilled secrets. What if I lose everything? The figure seemed to shimmer, shifting to reveal vague outlines of faces, an endless parade of women, their pain palpable, their stories lost in time. Each one seemed to plead with her, begging for hope, for resolution. Elle felt their longing seep into her bones. This is more than just your choice. It's echoing through generations, one of them whispered, her voice like fragile glass shattering in the silence. A memory surged forward, a mother, cradling a small bundle, her eyes brimming with relentless love. But next, Elle was thrust back to the present, to the haunting faces surrounding her, trapped in their despair. Did she want to live in blissful ignorance? Or would the truth transform her own future? Suddenly, the darkness loomed larger, pressing in with a ferocity that made her gasp. The time will come, the voice growled, deep and rumbling, as if originating from the very fabric of the shadows. You must choose or be swallowed whole. Panic clawed up her throat. Sweat trickled down her back as she thought of the legacy she might uncover. What if she discovered unthinkable horrors that would taint her lineage forever? But the thought of leaving those women to wander the abyss alone ignited a flicker of courage deep within her. In the midst of her fears, that flicker began to glow. Fine! Elle shouted, the word bursting from her with an urgency she hadn't expected. I'll confront it. Show me the truth. The shadows recoiled, swirling around her as if both reviled by and drawn to her defiance. A sudden burst of clarity enveloped her, wrapping around her like warmth on a cold night. She felt the weight shift, the torment began to yield to possibility. Heed this, Elle of the past and future, the silhouette rasped as it grew clearer, its form more defined. Your courage will open the gateway to revelations yet unseen. But remember, knowledge bears a price. Light flickered, dazzling and bright, illuminating a spiral staircase that seemed to descend from nowhere. Tentatively, Elle moved forward, heart racing, each step echoing like thunder in the abyss. She paused at the edge, peering down into the cascading shadows below. What awaits me? She murmured, half hoping for a glimpse of reassurance, half fearing the answer. The air hummed, amplifying her unknowing dread. Only from darkness can you carve your own light, the ancient voice echoed once more, resonating with newfound urgency. Gathering her resolve, she took a deep breath, adrenaline shooting through her veins. She stepped onto the staircase, feeling the familiar chill of fate pulling her downwards. Each stair creaked, protesting against her advancement, as though warning her of the secrets buried below. Just when she thought she could bear no more, the staircase opened into a vast cavern, its walls shimmering with otherworldly light. A kaleidoscope of memories flickered across surfaces. But the cavern was not empty. Shadows gathered, swirling and tightening into a figure the embodiment of hatred, despair, and countless failed hopes. It loomed larger, eyes like burning coals locking onto LS with seething intensity. Welcome, seeker of truth, it sneered, its breath hot with an ancient malice. You wish to unearth the past? Prepare for what lies ahead if you dare. LS' breath caught, heart pounding like thunder. She had stepped into the lion's den, and she could feel the heat of its fury already. Did she have the strength to face the truth that might demolish everything she thought she knew? The cavern pulsed around her like a living entity, shadows creeping closer. She knew one thing, the path would not be easy, and to confront this presence might seal her fate forever. With resolve, she raised her chin, eyes narrowing on the sinister figure before her. Bring it on, she challenged, aware that she might be stepping closer to her own oblivion. Could she survive what lay ahead? Or would she discover a truth so horrifying it shattered her forever? The shadows around Elle twisted, as if they absorbed her challenge, the air thickening with malevolence. The figure before her didn't just stand, it loomed, a dark monument of all the anguish, regret, and rage that festered beyond the walls of understanding. As it stepped forward, the cavern trembled, dust rained down as the floor quaked beneath her feet. Suddenly, memories erupted around her, an overwhelming symphony of past echoes. She was assaulted with visions of women wearing agonizing expressions while giving birth in dimly lit rooms, the cries muffled by the oppressive weight of silence. Each face flickered like a reflection on water, haunted by shadows of despair, their voices blending into a chorus of sorrow. "Help us," they whispered in unison, their hands reaching out, desperate for salvation. Fueled by a raw instinct, Elle crushed fear underfoot. "You won't silence me!" she shouted, her voice resonating in the cavern, weaving in and out of the ghostly wails. She stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the malevolent figure. "I am here to learn. I'm ready to face whatever truth lies within." The figure chuckled, a sound that curled around her like smoke. "You think you can handle what I hold? What has been buried, hidden from tender eyes like yours?" With each word, shadows writhed and slithered like snakes, eager and sinister. "You yearn for knowledge, but know this, for each secret revealed, a piece of your soul is required." Elle's heart stuttered. What did that even mean? Was she prepared for the cost? The walls of her mind screamed with uncertainty, but the faces of those women vast and lost steadied her resolve. They needed her courage, needed someone to stand against the darkness suffocating their voices. "Show me," she challenged again, fury igniting in her soul. "Show me their stories. Let me hear them." For a heartbeat, the figure faltered, eyes narrowing. "As you wish, brave little one," it hissed. The cavern erupted with a flash of blinding light, and then darkness followed, enveloping her completely. Elle felt a rush as memories collided around her, visions unraveling at breakneck speed. She found herself lost in the horrors of childbirth from epochs gone by, women crammed into dark corners in profound pain, foreboding figures looming over them, chanting incantations that felt as ancient as time. Ropes tied their wrists, and fear held their hearts in an icy grip. Each soul echoed a relentless cry for mercy, for understanding, for belief. She stumbled through this morbid landscape, overwhelmed by the suffering and silence of generations. The raw emotion made her stomach churn. Horror tightened around her chest until she thought she might burst. "Stop!" she finally screamed, feeling the weight of each unfolding story. "Please! You have to stop!" The shadows paused, but the figure's amusement twinkled in the light. "This is but a fraction of the truth, child. It flows through your veins. Embrace the darkness, or it will consume you." With that, Elle's skin prickled, and a surge of energy coursed through her body. An unbearable pain throbbed in her head as visions sharpened memories not just from others, but her own. Fleeting glimpses of her mother, distant yet familiar, surfaced like ghosts, uninvited. "Welcome back," the figure crooned, voice dripping with mocking tenderness. "What do you see, Elle? The threads of your lineage weaving together in a tapestry of torment?" In that moment, Elle grasped something shattering. Had her own family been intertwined with these tragic tales? The realization clawed at her, threatening a collapse into chaos. Who had her mother been? What did she hide? "Is this my destiny?" she whispered, fear coating her words like venom, "to face their truth alone?" "Your choice," the figure replied, a wicked grin spreading across its face, "is still to come." The cavern trembled once more, shadows rising like a storm. A scream echoed in the darkness, her scream? No. She was falling deeper into the abyss, where the truth hung like a noose over her heart. Then silence fell, heavy and expectant, as the shadows leaned in. Waiting, what else would she have to face? What darkness did she still need to uncover? And would she have the strength to confront the demons that might break her? The shadows around Elle stirred violently, whispering secrets that sent shivers down her spine. She felt the weight of the ancestral memories swirling around her, each one laden with stories of anguish, fear, and oppressive silence. The figure loomed large, its eyes glowing like embers in a dying fire. "You think you can handle the burden?" it cackled, its voice dripping with malice. "You stand on the threshold of revelations that could shatter everything you believe. I'm ready, Elle replied, though it felt more like a plea than a promise. I can't walk away. These women deserve to be heard. The cavern echoed her words back at her, bouncing off stone walls like a storm's wild laughs. She held her breath, bracing for what lay beyond the darkness. The figure smirked, twisting shadows dancing around its limbs. Very well, my brave little midwife. But remember, with each truth revealed, a part of you will change. Each scream you hear, each heart that breaks will be yours to carry. Elle steeled herself, pulling in a shaky breath. The air tasted heavy, like smoke and sorrow. Show me their stories, then. Let me carry their truths. In an instant, the darkness exploded into light. A rush of images flooded her mind, vivid and raw, the agony of childbirth woven in an unbroken line through generations. She saw women alone in their pain, hands grasping at nothing, desperation twisting their features. Cries echoed, "Help us! Hold on! Please!" Elle closed her eyes, forcing herself to absorb it all, the satisfaction and ruin, the joy overshadowed by fear. It was overwhelming yet vital. She was not just a passive observer, each scream fused with her heartbeat, resonating deep within her soul. Suddenly, the scene shifted. Bright lights, sterile tools glinting, and a young woman in despair, surrounded by anxious faces and murmurs of fear. This wasn't just history. It was a cycle continuing right now. Elle felt the tears well in her eyes. This can't go on, she shouted, but the figure simply watched, unmoving. Your mother carried her truths quietly, it mocked, a chuckle reverberating through the cavern. Will you follow that path, or will you dare to scream louder? The images morphed again. A dim room filled with anxious whispers. Yet again, she confronted the same hands that had birthed her. The faces of mothers lost, their children uncradled and unloved, staring back at her, a mirror to her own fears. What if she couldn't break this cycle? What if she faltered and fell into the very depths she'd sought to challenge? Then came a breakthrough, a child's cry, a sound that made her chest swell. Laughter intertwined with the chaos. A fleeting vision of a mother cradling her precious baby, their faces reflecting pure, unfiltered joy, echoed against all despair. Pain was not the only legacy. Hope had its roots as deeply entwined. See? The figure coiled closer, its tone shifting to something softer, almost seductive. You yearn for joy, yet the world teaches you to fear. Will you embrace your mother's legacy or reject what was lost? Elle's heart pounded as she took a step forward, each pulse echoing the strength within her. Her legacy will be mine to define. I will weave it differently. I refuse to let fear silence me. A sudden clarity washed over her, illuminating the shadows encasing her. She envisioned herself as a midwife who carried these voices forward, not just as burdens but as the catalysts for change. With each heartbeat, those shadows recoiled, revealing paths of light. Very well, the figure hissed, darkness swirling violently. If you're determined, prove it. Show me that you can carry their pain without being consumed. Elle bent down and picked up the tiny idol of the Maiden of Sorrow, feeling its power flow through her. I'll honor their truth, and in that I'll reclaim their lost voices. She felt swept up in a tide of spirits, their whispers rising in a crescendo of support, illuminating her path. Suddenly, an unseen energy surged around her, sparkling in bright shades of hope against the encroaching darkness. It was then the cavern walls shifted, morphing from shadows into a tapestry, vibrant images woven into threads of triumph and despair stretching far beyond her imagination. Do you see it? The figure shrieked, fury mingling with fear. Elle felt the tapestry unfurl, revealing stories untold. Babies who had once screamed, now found peace in their mothers' hearts, and mothers who had once been void of joy now beaming with life. Yes. This is what we will create, she cried, emboldened by the spirits that surged around her. With that, the figure retreated, a flicker of unease crossing its features. So be it, midwife par excellence. If you breach this tapestry, there's no turning back. You will know their screams, but you'll also feel their laughter. Suddenly, the cavern erupted, the memories spiraling into a whirlwind around her. The secrets of those who came before surged into her consciousness, intertwining with her very fabric. She was becoming the bridge where pain met promise, sorrow met joy, and the screams of the past entwined with the hope of the future. As the light expanded, Elle felt a warmth envelop her, the shadows dissipating. She could hear the echoes of grateful spirits celebrating, a chorus for the ages. You'll carry our truths. Scream for us. Tell our stories. At last she stood firm, heart racing yet steady, a midwife now and forever. She would not turn back. There was no longer a choice. She was bound to the legacy, ready to uncover the past and herald a brighter future. Light engulfed her, and in that moment she knew she would carry their stories for all the world to hear. But this is merely the beginning. Now it's your turn. Are you ready for a deeper dive into more stories at this channel? You need to subscribe now. Smash that like button and let us feed the algorithm together. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Elle's journey. Tell me, how would you confront the darkness? And don't wait even one more second to share this episode with 5 friends who need to experience these truths. Remember, every story deserves to be heard, so show your support for the channel today.